Okay, so even though the weather has calmed down a little bit, being directly in the sunlight, which it's a gorgeous day, still gets you warm. Water, hydrate. This may not be a big tip for a lot of people, but some people it is. What I like to do is use an old milk jug and use it as water. And what I typically do is fill it about a quarter to halfway full of water, stick it in the freezer overnight, let that block up of ice, and then halfway fill it with fresh water when I get out to work the next day. And then it keeps it cool, and as it melts, you get the idea. So got the fence project still going on for enclosing the garden. If you saw a video of Ruth and I going to Tractor Supply, we got the hog panel. This is what we did for it. So we're gonna have a trellised arch entrance way into the raised planter area. Gonna buy a gate for this. We're also gonna have a gate here for it. Try and get a little bit wider shot. Have a gate here that I'm gonna again buy. I'm not making these ones like I did with the closed-in chicken area for a couple reasons. One is I need to buy the wood, and I'd rather have these be kind of more sturdy, stable gates than just the wood ones. It's just a personal preference at this point, but I need to have a good solid post for the gate to swing. I've dug the hole for it. I've got the post for it. I need to get a bag of cement to put it in there. But again, waiting on money. I'm going to come over here and show you. On this side, we're going to have the same thing. Going to have a gate that I'm going to buy, a good sturdy one. I've got post, hole dug for it, waiting for cement. And then just in this little area between this little shed, I'll probably just end up, rather than putting a swinging fence, I may just put like a lift gate things where it's just like a rectangle fence panel that just kind of slides into a couple brackets that if we need to go in and out this way, we can just remove it totally and go that way. I don't think it needs to be a swinging gate. Of course, now that I said that, I may just build one out of the 1x2 or 2x2. I like 2x2. I'm finding 2x2 is a great all-purpose kind of build stuff out of it, and I'll show you what I mean here. So here's one of the gates, and I redid this one, put some cross bracing. Didn't necessarily need it, but any gate, anything that moves will do better with cross bracing. And since I had this 2x3 left over from the old chicken play area, I went ahead and repurposed it to reinforce these gates here. But I framed it, as you can see, out of 2x2. And the reason I like 2x2 is it's more structural. So, you know, 2x4 is a structure. It's like a stud, or a 2x3. A 2x2 gives you, no matter how you frame it, no matter what kind of fastener you use, you have a lot of wood to bite into for the fastener. So whether it's a screw or a nail, you have a lot of a lot of meat, so to speak, with the wood for the fastener to really bite into and grab and suck it together and hold well. They don't bend over length as much. As you can see, the rabbet hutches that I did here, I did a lot. Well, those are 2x3 down there for the legs, but I framed out a lot with the 2x2, and then the doors I made with 1x2. So the other thing about 2x2 and 1x2 is that you can get them in what's called like furring strips at your big box stores, and they tend to be way less expensive than some of your larger dimensional wood or your finished like white pine boards that are 1x2 or 1x stock material. So you can get a lot for not a lot of money, and they're very versatile. So I'm a big proponent of 1x2 and 2x2 for building stuff around the homestead. Not much has changed with what we talked about over here. In fact, nothing really has changed. We had considered maybe, so yeah, here's the big thing that's changed. We have moved pigs up, we think. Talked to a few people, friends that have wintered over pigs, read some articles about wintering over pigs, and we may try to get a couple feeder pigs now and try wintering them over. So we talked about maybe this area here, which is going to be our in-ground garden in the spring, about maybe making this their temporary home, and there's a lot of advantages to that. They'd root up, they'd help till up the ground, they'd add their manure straight in, work that in. Ultimately decided against it for a couple of reasons. One is I want to be able to work on that area, defining it, fencing it, and all that stuff without having to worry about moving or dealing with the hogs. So what we're ultimately going to do is over here in the old chicken play area, we've decided, since we're not moving this anytime soon because we don't have a way to move it, or at least not anything readily available, we decided let's leave this where it's at. And what we're going to end up doing, come on over here, switch you around to this side, is we're going to build a lean-to shelter off the back side of the shed here. Going to put up hog panel along this side, come around pretty much to where this tree is, go out here to where pretty much where that tree stump is, a little bit beyond it, back over here to where this old post is, and back to the shed. So it'll be like an L-shaped pig enclosure. Give them about 450 to 500 square feet, give or take, of space. And we're only planning on getting 2 pigs. And from what I've read, that's plenty of space for 2 pigs, regardless of breed. We are looking, I mean, obviously with some of the YouTube videos and the homesteading videos, we see lots of Idaho pasture pigs, coonies, different breeds, different types. We may, since this is our first rodeo with it, we may just go ahead and get a crossbreed, something kind of cheap, and we'll do it and we'll see what happens. Again, it's one of those things where sometimes you have to just see what happens. You have to do it and see. You can read about it all you want to. You can research the heck out of something, but you got to eventually jump in and do it. And that's how you learn. Or I should say, that's the way you learn best. Experience is the best teacher, in my opinion. If you can learn pitfalls, things to avoid, great. Do that beforehand. But by and large, you got to learn by experience. Back to the type of pigs we're going to get. Like I said, crossbreed is probably what we're going to end up getting, although there is I found a relatively local pig supplier who does Poland China, or China Poland breed, which I guess is one of the oldest and biggest pig breed. And while some people would say, well, you don't want to jump in with the biggest pigs right away for your first time, I say, well, maybe not, but I do want somebody local that I can get from and establish a good relationship, because part of what we're doing, an integral part of what we're doing, is establishing community, interlocking, internetworking, community groups and networks that we can learn from each other and, if necessary, rely on each other. So if I can get somebody local, I think that would be preferable. So got a lot of projects that there's that. So I'm going to be working on just kind of cleaning up this area today. Got the wood pile over here from a lot of wood from the cedar that I cut up that was over there in our neighbor's area from the tornado. I don't think I did a lot of filming with that one, but I also got a lot of the persimmon. That's right, persimmon, and some of the oak wood that I kept from cutting up the trees over in the solar array area. And so what I'm going to do is I've got this old piece of sheet metal that used to be covering the AC unit. It came down because the way they had it up, it was too close. So I'm gonna actually repurpose that to provide more coverage, because our eave gives a pretty good amount of coverage, but I was thinking just give a little bit more coverage to keep this dry. Again, it's not a supplemental heat source for us yet. It's more just for when we want to have fires over in the our little burn pit. So you can see I've got so I'm leaving that stump of the oak there, and then that persimmon, I'm leaving that shoot there because the way that the sun hits that, it's not going to interfere with the solar array where it's at. All that shrub and stuff, I haven't decided if I'm going to chip up the rest of that or if I'm just going to burn it. The other day we had 2 big burn piles that we brushed off. That one still smoldering, it's still got smoke coming off of it. That burned when did I do that? Thursday. It's Sunday now, and it's still got smoke coming up off of it. And then not the oak that you see right in front of you, but the tree clumps behind that, there's another burn pit, and that's pretty much smoldered down now. So got those out of the way for the most part, and we're ready for the solar array to come in. That project is been approved and ready. Now we're just waiting on scheduling a date to actually get the work started. And then nothing really in this area has changed plan wise. We're gonna still I still like to put a barn or something here, whatever our barn ends up being. The main purpose for it in the short term is to have a place where we can put our tractor, but we don't have a tractor yet. So it's the age-old question, which comes first, the barn or the tractor? But that's the main purpose of the barn to start, is to just have some place that I can put the tractor, park it where it's out of the weather, out of the elements, but also some place that I can work on it if when I need to, because it's not a question of if, it's when. But of course I don't want to do something so short term where it's just a shed. For that, I want to think, well, what else are we going to use the barn for? And one of the things that we're probably moving up on our list is getting a dairy cow. Now, we're not close to getting ready to do that yet, but we're getting there. And we just want to be as best situated for that as we can. So those are the little things I'm going to be puttering around to today. I'm going to pull the plug on the pool and drain it so that we can grade out the ground underneath it better, and get it prepped for, we got kind of a long-term project goal where we want to do a deck that connects off of the door, and that deck that comes out all the way to the pool area and has a walk around that you can jump in the pool. So it'll be like an elevated deck, and it'll kind of split the yard into 2. But we'd also have the burn pit and a seating area, so it's a long ways. But got to get the pool area level, the ground sitting on good ground before we can do any of the rest of that. So it's October now. Even though the weather's still pushing into the 80s a little bit, the girls have had plenty of chances to swim. It's October. It's time to drain the pool. So I'm going to get working on that and all these other projects. We'll fill you in on what I get done and see how it goes. All right? So, best laid plans. Always, right? Obviously, this video has been kind of all over the place. Started out with this was just going to be a puttering day. He had a few other things done, and it turned out to be something else. That's okay too, guys. Oftentimes you will start out, excuse me, oftentimes we have found, and this I think is applicable to whether or not you're homesteading or you're doing other stuff, you will start out your day intending to do one thing or a list of things, and circumstances will come along and necessitate that you do other things. And you can either fight that and resist it, or you can learn to the best of your ability to roll with it. I highly recommend that you learn to roll with it, because fighting it, I have found, never works out. So with that, we'll wrap this one up. Obviously, there's going to be a follow-up on this one. It's going to be ongoing, and we've got to do the other video to do the other stuff. But we'll wrap this one up for now, and we'll sign off by saying, God be with you all in all that you do. Keep the faith and keep up the fight. See you later.